So Ivan, welcome to Bali. How does it feel?
Feels good. Feels good. Surprisingly, really good to be here. I never thought I'd be one to appreciate a good holiday, but I have to say, you guys have turned me.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's been a very, very relaxing couple of days, and yeah, I think it's something I've got to start doing more often.
Absolutely. What stopped you in the past?
Uh, I think just always working, always having something to work on. Again, always thinking that, if I take time off now, what's going to happen? Never a good time, right, to take time off in the old paradigm anyway. But I must admit, taking a break this time around with how everything's going, I think it's worked out really well.
What's changed?
I think just the systems we have in place now, not having to worry about members not being looked after if I'm away, being able to trust other coaches to look after them if I'm away. I think it goes for everyone in the team. So, but that's taken us a long time to actually construct, and I don't see it in any other fitness companies. I never see it in any other online coaching businesses. You know the feeling, right? Always, if you're not working as a PT, you're not being paid. You know what I mean? Or you have to stress about things. If you do go on holiday, that's like a whole week's worth of pay not given to you, right? So I've never been able to have that freedom up until recently. So it's what makes this holiday even more crazy. I can't believe I'm being here and I'm not being deducted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Well, we were reflecting this over dinner yesterday. We were saying how, I was thinking about it before we came, and then we were talking about how, as a personal trainer, it's one of the biggest anxieties, taking holiday.
That's it.
So I remember one year I took only 9 days off, including weekends, just because of that. It just creates this weird sort of loop in your head, doesn't it? And it fuels an anxiety circle that you live with and you don't probably realize until you step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably only appreciate it maybe now. Whereas when I was in it, I just thought that was just the hamster wheel that you're on, right?
Yeah, you think that's just the way it is, right? But it has been the way it is for a very long time.
It is.
It still is.
It
still is.
For personal trainers who are on the gym floor.
Exactly. And that's obviously because that's all I've done for a very long time. That's all I've ever known. I've only known you get paid for the hours you put in at that time, and that's it. No holiday pay, no this, no that. And we know that's just not a good long-term model, And so what you were talking about the other day was extremely, I think, just rung true. I think a lot of people need to hear that, was when you saw one of your colleagues have a child for the first time as a personal trainer, and then he comes into the gym completely exhausted, couldn't take time off, feeling extremely burnt out, and how is someone supposed to live like that? You know what I mean? How are they meant to be a good father? How are they meant to be a good coach? And I think that really sunk in for me. Like when you said it to me, and I sort of pictured that, because I think a lot of people are going to be going through that eventually, and a lot of PTs at the moment are young, but what are they going to be thinking about in the future, right? When they're 30, 35, 40, and they want to have kids? Like, can you really have kids with the current setup that you have? You're out early mornings and you're out in the evenings when your family needs you the most. Like, how is that a really good long-term strategy?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always, I knew I wanted to have a family, and I knew I wanted to be an active father as well. So there's a difference between having a family and actually being there, especially because a lot of the clientele we'd work with in the city of London, they were, paying for nannies. They used to take their nannies on holiday with them, mainly because they weren't active fathers. And for me, it was like, I don't want that. I don't want to be always away. You only see your kids on holidays, or you might see them on a Sunday. And then I really remember it distinctly when a colleague of mine, he came in after he probably took like 2 days paternity leave. It's not really paternity leave.
No.
He took 2 days off, and he came back and he was just bleary-eyed. I said, "Oh, how's it going?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just exhausted." And I used to see him come in at 6 a.m. and he used to leave at 9 p.m. And I just thought to myself, that was when I was like, hold on a second, this guy's early to mid 30s. I was in my mid 20s. Oh, this is my reality. Like, I'm staring at myself in 10 years time, and I thought, I can't let this happen. And that was my sort of big trigger moment to start thinking differently about it, because I always knew I wanted to stay in the industry. It was never like I can do anything else. Like for me, this is it. Like, there was nothing outside of health and fitness. Like I never even thought about anything else. And I was saying to you, I've always had an itch to an entrepreneurial itch, but I never had the service or product that I actually wanted to go all in on. This is you have to live and breathe it, right? You can't just sell widgets and and go through the pain of doing this all. It's got to be worth it, right? And I dabbled in a few things, and for me, none of them really like fed the soul. And I saw like the industry going online. I knew that online would allow us to effectively have our cake and eat it. Probably the wrong analogy to use, because it doesn't mean it's easy. It just means it's on our own terms. We can still serve people, we can still have an impact, but it doesn't mean we need to be out the house at 5 in the morning.
Exactly.
We can work hard, but we can work on our own schedules. I think that's really important. So when I started RNT, I always knew I wanted a team, but for me it wasn't about there's a reason I don't call it Akash Vagela Fitness, right? I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about a team, in a place where people like yourself come and grow and not have to worry about if they don't work, if they don't get paid, not have to worry about always thinking about bringing in clients. And that was one of my key, and it still is, key driver for me to build RNT, because if RNT grows, it gives you more opportunity. If RNT stays the same, then you're going to be capped as well, and then you don't grow.
Exactly.
So it works. It's win-win for everyone. RNT grows, you grow. And I wanted to create a platform where people can develop and grow and not have that anxiety of a personal trainer. Because the anxiety of a personal trainer is horrible. Like, I was asleep. Before you came, I was walking home thinking about it. I was thinking, I remember Ivan had 3 jobs. I remember the stories you used to tell me, and I thought, my God, what a difference, right? Now you're coming out and you've got the week off. I don't know how much I know we're talking about stuff, but you know what I mean, right? You're chilling out, and but you're not having to worry about these things. Everything's looked after, everything's cared for, and that takes a lot of system building, a lot of operational back end, which has been really hard to build. But for me, that's what it's all about, right? That's what we're trying to create here. Because if you're in a position where you can thrive, the only people that are going to benefit outside of yourself are our members. And if our members are thriving, then we're making a positive impact in the world.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about.
Exactly. And just back to that, we were saying, working 3 jobs, it was a lot of hours work, right? But the actual outcome of that work is nowhere near the outcome of what I'm able to produce now. You know what I mean? With my responsibilities, with obviously coaching members, doing the education, the content stuff. Like, it's you put me in a position that plays to my strengths and allows me to again create for the company and again add value. And that is how I've been able to sort of work in less hours per week, in the hours that actually less hours per week, but so much more impact. You know what I mean? And again, that's come down to the systems that you've put in place, that you've built, because I don't know anywhere else that sort of allows for that, right? It's brilliant, and again, but it also removes that stress of having to get more clients, or being like, am I going to be okay this month? What about next? What about if my clients go on holiday? You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. That sort of stress, I haven't had to feel that stress for a long time. And because of that, it's allowed me to just focus on good quality work, right? You know yourself, you can't produce good quality work when you're under high amounts of stress, right? Because all you're thinking about is survival. You're not thinking about thriving, yeah? So I think people, again, maybe many listening, maybe do not understand how that actually feels like, because they've probably been doing that sort of coaching for a very long time, just always playing week by week, month by month, hoping for the best, right? And it's probably preventing them from reaching their full potential, you know what I mean? Because you're always thinking of surviving and not doing the best that you possibly can.
We're operating from a place of scarcity, not a place of abundance and growth and service, which is what it's all about. And it's interesting, we were talking about strengths and weaknesses yesterday, and we were saying how, the whole thing of like, you need to work on your weaknesses and not play to your strengths. Fill up all your weaknesses and do your strengths when you can. Whereas what I've always thought is, no, let's shore up the weaknesses. Let's make sure they're not like critical. Let's make sure you can do at least the bare basics. But let's play to your strengths. And what's been interesting about your journey, we can potentially talk about like how your journey's been over the last couple of years, is we've tried a few different things, and we realized some things you didn't enjoy, and that's been really interesting. Like when we gave you a little hand in management, and you realize I hate management. I just want to be in a cave. I don't want to talk to people.
Exactly.
But trying those things out has been interesting, because it helped you identify, well, that's not for me.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
teaching is for you. Like teaching, you enjoy teaching. So whereas you don't enjoy the management HR aspect, you love the teaching aspect. And I think these sort of, there is always a bit of a trial and error to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when all you've known is personal training.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the other thing is, it's not just in-person personal trainers. I think it's all these things apply to online. Because again, if you turn off your laptop, what's going to happen? Right?
Yeah.
You have to always be on. And I've been through that as well. And it used to be like that with us, right?
Yeah.
If you turn your laptop off, it's game over. Right? Whereas it's trying to create the structure in a place where you can still thrive, no matter if you're online or if you're in person.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. Learning eventually how to understand that you don't always have to be on your laptop, because then you end up falling into that trap of in-person PT, thinking that you always have to be on the gym floor. Otherwise, you're not making a difference. It's like, no. It's not about the quantity of hours that you put in these things. It's the quality of those hours. And again, if you're operating from a good system, you're providing value, you have good structures in your day, you can get a lot of good quality work done in a very relatively short amount of time. What people think is a short amount of time, but it's very intense work what we do. I've noticed that people say they'll spend, I work from 8 to 5. Well, you don't actually work 8 to 5. You work maybe 8 till 10. Dilly-dally about a little bit, maybe an hour in the afternoon. At best, you get 3 hours of work done in an 8-hour work day, right? But with us, it's like, cool, if we give them 3-4 hours in the middle of the day, like we can chunk out like 9 to 10 hours worth of work in that time frame. And because we learn because again, it gives us the freedom and flexibility to choose our own hours, which I think is massive. The fact that you can choose your own hours allows you to work at a time where you feel the most productive. You know what I mean? And I think that's one huge component to online that is going to be very, very hard to replace, or it's very, very hard to beat that. And again, if an online coach is working really well, they have freedom in their life, they can again focus on their members and they can focus on just creating quality work all the time versus having to show up at stupid hours. You know what I mean? So I think there's just so much going for a good online coaching setup if you can make it work. And I think that's what you've done really well there.
And that's the hard bit, is also finding the setup as well, because you don't want to replicate the same mistakes as a personal trainer, right? So talk about how your journey, the reason why we're here is we're celebrating your 3-year anniversary. Celebrated in March, and thought we'd tie something together in June, or end of May. Talk about how your role's developed over the 3 years.
So I guess, when I first came on, I came fresh off the gym floor, right? And I thought, okay, I really like online coaching. I like the idea of it, but I think back then it wasn't. I think it's a lot more prevalent now, if that makes sense. You've probably seen like an exponential growth every single year with online coaching. So at the time, I was like, it shouldn't be too much of it should be a relatively easy transition from offline to online, and it really wasn't. It was a big learning curve initially, but looking back, I'm really grateful for that huge learning curve, because at that time, our systems weren't like they were good, but it was.
Let's be honest.
Let's be real.
They're all over the place.
It's all sink or swim, you know what I mean? But I remember when we had to do multiple setups and all that sort of stuff. Just the system that we had in place was it wasn't the best, but I think with all the stuff that we've done in the past with regards to training, like doing a lot of hard shit for a long time, I think it just builds character. You know what I mean? And so I found that initial transitioning period, it was literally either sink or swim. And luckily I learned to swim pretty quickly, but there was a huge learning curve, and especially when trying to convey messages that you normally do in person to now doing it in an online format, making it digestible, understandable for the person receiving the message. All that stuff is taken for granted if you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like online communication, being able to empathize, being able to provide good, solid advice online that the member can actually take on board, that's a skill in and of itself, and that took a long time to cultivate. Working with different personalities, and again, structuring my day, like that didn't just happen overnight. Like I wasn't falling in the trap of always having to be on my laptop, always having to respond, making sure everyone's being responded to, and it was all over the shop when I first started, right? Like there wasn't the system was do the work. As long as it gets done, then that's great, So I found that the first couple of months were really hectic for me. It was really, really, really hectic. But you fall into a routine. You learn as you go. You start getting some results, because that was the big thing initially. It was like, well, I've never got a result like online. Is this really going to work? And obviously, because when you first take on people, you don't get a result in 4 weeks. You don't do that, you know. So at the time, like I had to wait like 3, 4, 5, 6 months to see my work sort of come to fruition. So that was also like, oh, hopefully I get some good like results and transformations. You really wanted to make that difference, you know, because again, we pride ourselves on being able to provide extremely fantastic, the best transformations online, hands down, with ordinary people, right? So I wanted to hit that criteria. I wanted to be part of that, you know, and I wanted to make sure that I was producing good quality work. But again, that it doesn't come alive until it's like, you know, month 5 or 6. I'm like, I hope that, you know, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing my hardest. I'm trying. So I think there was a lot of learning as we went on, you know. And I look back, and yeah, as stressful as a lot of that was, it was necessary to sort of pave the path for later down the line.
Yeah, what was that path then?
So yeah, and then so it was a lot of it was more just coaching clients, and that was my role. But as we sort of progressed throughout the journey, I think we had more and more meetings. I think it was becoming apparent that, like, you know, I had more to offer than just one-to-one coaching, right? Like I'm a huge geek when it comes to exercise and nutrition and just everything involved in body composition, fat loss, muscle building, all that good stuff. Just a complete geek, you know, and I love learning about all that. But most importantly, I love being able to translate a lot of the messages that's being spoken up, you know, with these academic people, and being able to transfer it to not only get a member to understand it, but actually implement it and actually notice a change in their life. So again, I'm always about practicality, always about applicability, and ever since then, I think it's just been refining that as well, right? So I think, I'm not too sure when we sort of started to make the transition into more
Probably
education
like,
stuff, because the management stuff just
that was the
started
first
to
thing.
come first.
That was the first thing.
Yeah. So
That was
how did that go?
That was sort of like Q3, Q4 2020.
Yeah. I don't really remember too much about that period. Simply I'm probably not the best like with people with regards to just dealing with the HR sort of stuff. I love getting people results, and I love getting them transformed, and I love, you know, cracking them on a mental level. But for some reason, like management and HR stuff just doesn't float my boat, you know. So gave that a shot, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is for me. But I think it also took me being honest with you. You know, I actually said, hey, I don't think this is a point for me that's going to be good.
And I'm glad you said it, because remember I was thinking, I was like, oh, I hate having to have that kind of conversation.
Yeah, but I knew.
You said it to me. I'm like, oh, thank God he said it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think this is the right approach for me. Like, and then I think that's sort of somehow how we twisted into content stuff. Because I know for a long time you were producing a lot of the content for the company, and I thought that was just an avenue that you wanted to keep, right? But then I think you obviously have taken on a lot more responsibility, and you wanted to work on other business stuff. So I was like, oh, you know, I think, did I propose that to you?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of proposing. I think we kind of like in that phase of like, where do you want to go now?
Yeah.
Because we finally had a bit of space. You finally had space to think. You're out of that sink or swim. You're swimming nicely. You had time to think, and you're like, and I think I must have just asked you, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
you
also,
tell me where you want to go.
I think because we were going, remember that period where we were re-editing a lot of the articles that were on the website, and I was like, no.
Yes, that was one of the seeds for sure.
Yeah. So I think again, it was just a lot of the stuff wasn't wrong. It was just sort of like outdated by the time, you know. I think I was making like quite a few corrections, and you were like, oh, okay, interesting. And then I think maybe that's where the seeds are sort of planted.
That was around the rebrand in August, and I think September is when we started doing some stuff.
Yeah. And then obviously we had to build our curriculum.
Yes.
And that was like a huge sort of creative outlet for all of us.
Oh, this was it. So this was it. There was the curriculum, and I said to you guys, I think you guys should build the curriculum.
Yeah.
So you guys built the curriculum, but you enjoyed it way more than any of us expected.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm just in my flow. Like, I can't believe how I'm sad that we finished the curriculum.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it was like, okay, so this is a thing. Like,
Exactly.
Because when you feel like that, when you feel like time stands still, when you're in your cave, no distractions, that's when you know you're onto something. Right?
Yeah, but I also remember at the time, I didn't pay much attention to it, but, you know, both you and Ed, the feedback you gave me were like, you know, I was really, like, I was enticed when I was reading the stuff that you were putting down. Like, it was actually really interesting. Like, I really wanted to keep reading. I was like, oh, okay, didn't really think of that. And then And then ever since then, because that was a lot of like practice time for content. You know,
Yeah,
writing a lot of the curriculum content. That took us a long time. That was
Yeah.
a massive project, and to film it, that was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But we got it done. But yeah, I think that was a good practice round. Well, it was a big practice round for, okay, cool, well, let's start making more content. And I think I was also seeing gaps with what our members needed to hear, you know, and I was just like, hey, do we have an article on this? I want to write something on this, I want to write something on this. So again, we're always about educating our members and educating anyone that comes across our stuff, right? Like, I think we've always been very prominent on that. I think we're always going to continue that. So I think there was just a few gaps that I was seeing. It's just based on the questions that we'd always get, right? You know, how do I eat out, or this and that. Like, it was a lot of the original content that I started creating was based on, just what people were struggling with. Like I think the 80-20 article. I think that was the first one, right?
Yeah, it was.
Because everyone was thinking that every single process goal or target is equal. You know what I mean? And people were not understanding that. Well, you know, during your fat loss, nutrition is actually like way up here. If you nail that, you know, and everything else is pretty low second, third, fourth. Yes, they obviously help, but I think that was a big gap there, you know. I think just started from there, right? So we're seeing what our members were coming back with, what content we could produce, and then it all just sort of started from there. I think is that correct?
Yeah. And then I think at the same time, you were probably experiencing like these are the thing, and then I was reading more and more around trying to hone in on people's unique ability. So I was trying to think like, you know, what's your thing? Like, what's your thing? You remember like I was asking you to give me feedback, and then you asked me, and then I said to you, I think you're really good at simplifying complex topics for people.
Yeah.
You think about what you're doing now, that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
And also I was reading a lot about like how the core people in the team need to be like sitting in the seat that is best suited to them. Otherwise, they're gonna hate it, and they're not going to add value in the way they could. So that's all I was thinking about. I was like, all right, well, you know, where's Ivan? Where's Ed? You know, what are the gaps? Like, and I was noticing, you know, they're actually people that, you know, everyone's bringing different skill sets. How do I now?
That's great.
How do I now organize these people?
Yeah.
How do we organize it so everyone's in a like it's like the football team. Like, who's going to be left back? Who's going to be right back?
Because if you had all like strikers, what are you going to do? You can't defend. You know. So it's the exact same thing, and I think that's what we have is so unique, that team, right? And I'm very introverted, to be fair, but I think I'm starting to change a bit more as time goes on. But even me being an introvert, I still get off on working with a strong team. Like I would not want to work on my own, do this on my own. Having you there, having Ed there, having the rest of the team there is brilliant, you know. And I never would have thought that. You know, if you asked me in my early 20s, just do everything on my own, this and that. It's like, no. Because if I did do everything on my own, imagine me trying to manage people then. You know? I'll never have anyone on my team, right? So I'm an idiot.
You would talk to them.
What do you mean you didn't understand it, Ivan? You didn't tell me anything. You know? Well, you just learn as you go. So, I would have crumbled massively. So even me being really introverted, I understand. But it also comes with self-awareness throughout this entire journey as well. We were speaking about this the other day. It's just like, you can patch up your weaknesses and work on your weaknesses, and I think everyone should, you know. But from a productivity standpoint, you should play to your strengths and then capitalize on those strengths and make them so strong that you just blow everyone else out of the water in that specific genre. You know.
It's a really good exercise for people who want to try this. Is ask about 5 people. What am I really good at? What comes naturally to me? And ask a variety of people, but I think they've got to be people that know you for a long time, or you work with them very closely. You can even pick. So when I did this exercise, I picked like you were one of them. I picked a colleague. I picked and then I picked my mum and dad, and then I picked 3 friends who've known me for more than 10 years that I'm still close with. Because I think a good way to spot this is what were you good at naturally as a kid. That's why I asked my mom, like, what are you good at? What are you good at naturally as a kid that, you know, it just comes to you, right? And I think when you start identifying that, and it takes a while. Like, it's not something that, it's not going to be the first answer, because sometimes you haven't even done it.
No, exactly.
You haven't even done it, right? So you have to go through a lot of sort of trial and error. And, but once you lock it in, then you're like, oh wow, like this is when I feel amazing. And also, it's where you can give the most value. Like, someone gave me this piece of advice like 3 months ago. He said, look, as you grow our own team, all you need to be thinking is, how do you give value to your team? I thought, what do you mean? He's like, well, like what is, you're not just the owner. Like where is your position in this, and where are you going to give the value? And you got to lock that in and just go for it. And I thought, that's interesting. Then I was like constantly thinking about that, and then I think now I'm starting to realize where I give the most value, and it's probably just it's the big picture thinking, and it's.
I said the same thing.
You said that to me. Like, I think I asked you in March last year, April last year. I was like,
you see, I said you see things that we don't see. Like when we're in the trenches, right? You have you have fantastic foresight into things. You know, that's really hard to come by.
And then I was thinking, like, how do I? See, the other day I was sitting where you are, and I must have been there for about 3-4 hours, just looking. You know, we got a pool next to us, looking into the pool, looking into the trees, and I was living in 2024. Like I was literally just like living there, and I came out of it. I was like, oh wow, like I feel so like energized. Like I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely it. Like, you know, you're almost like confirming like, oh, I need to put myself in this position more. And obviously you can't spend all day and every day in there because you got to actually make stuff happen.
Exactly.
But I think that's the other thing. Is like, is thinking where we're going to go and then it's actually making it happen.
Yeah.
Like reverse engineering and being like, it's just like the journey, isn't it?
But that's the thing, like, but you've been able to continuously do that all the time, you know. And I think we were reminiscing the other day about like all this. I'm gonna swear. Can I swear?
All this. You do it all the time.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. That's true. All this shit that we went through.
Yeah.
Like, that was very extremely character building for all of us. I think it was very formative for why we are the way we are today. But the biggest thing for me was how you stayed resilient and how you still planned ahead of. You know what I mean? You still were able to navigate everyone out of that mass. Like I wouldn't say it was a hole. I would just say it was a really rough time for all of us as coaches, you know. And I think you did extremely well to just rally everyone up and to keep them moving in the right direction. And I think we came out of it stronger than ever.
For sure.
And like that's massive, you know. And that takes an actual leader, you know what I mean? But not a leader who just likes to lead because of narcissistic reasons, you know what I mean? You know, you have those leaders, but you're a leader who just absolutely loves what he does, like through and through. You're unbelievably authentic to what you're trying to do here with the platform. And that's why I think I've stayed on for so long as well, you know, because I see that authenticity in you, which I have not seen in many other people. Like 99.9% of people do not have that, you know. You end up finding them out eventually, you know, and you've always stayed true to that mission. You've always stayed true to making that platform for everyone to transform, you know, and it's incredible being a part of that journey for now. And I just can't wait to see what happens in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cool,
Thank you for sharing. And just on that, it's like every business, and when I speak to fellow business owners, they always tell me every business has a moment of truth where everyone's going to get humbled and the business will get humbled. And it's sink or swim. Like, there's a reason why the startup, you hear like most businesses that start up don't make the first year, and the numbers that make fifth year are like, most fail, like before 5 years. The 5 year one is like, and that's why for me, the 5 year, like coming up next week, by the time this comes out, it would have been 5 years. It's a big one for me because, you know, it's the hardest, the first 5 are like the hardest, and then the stats from 5 to 10 are even harder.
I believe that.
But I've got unwavering belief that we're going to get there. Because what we're trying to achieve is unlike anyone else is doing, right? There's a massive gap in the health and fitness industry that we're going to fill. You know, and I was saying to you on the walk yesterday, I was like, you know, when people take snipes at us, you know, we still get them, right? I still get screenshots, I still get this, you know, people using snipes at us to elevate themselves, and I just don't react to it because I'm like, there's no point in giving it time of the day because the people, the businesses I'm looking at are so much bigger than us. It's like, oh wow, this is what's possible. Imagine we took what we're doing now to that level, and we had that level of impact.
Yeah, exactly.
But with a better product.
Yeah.
But a better service and a better result.
Even the way you view that, you don't view that from a state of jealousy or a state of envy or a state of, why are they doing that and we aren't? You know, it's more like, what are they doing that we can learn from? Yeah. That's a brilliant mindset, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I know we spoke about this yesterday too, like everyone in the fitness industry, they love to like shit on Joe Wicks, you know what I mean? I think what he's doing is fantastic. Like, he's, maybe some of the stuff isn't 100% scientific, this and that, but what's he doing better than all of us? He's getting more and more people to move and buy his products. And the thing is, if people are continuing to buy his products, they must be working to some degree, yeah? So like, who are we to try to bring him down? Just because he doesn't look like a bodybuilder, just because he does jumping jacks, whatever, like, yeah, you can give him as much shit as you like, and you know, be in your Dundee gym and be like, oh, Joe Wicks, I'm way more jacked than Joe Wicks. Who cares? Like, he's making a ton more impact than
pretty much anyone in the UK.
Exactly, from a fitness perspective, right? So I think there's something that we can learn from him. And again, instead of trying to tear him down and go, idiot, this is wrong, this is wrong. You know, I've seen people try to do that. Break down his like nutrition advice analysis. I agree. It's probably a lot of it's not optimal, but he's still having more of an impact than any of us combined.
Yeah, he's getting people eating broccoli instead of carrots, broccoli instead of crisps, right?
Exactly.
And that simple switch for some people is all they need, right?
Agreed.
And you know, I've actually been listening to a lot of his stuff recently, just because he's appeared on a few podcasts, and hearing him actually speak is a different thing. You know, he's actually a really humble, very down to earth, and he just genuinely believes in the mission he's on.
Yeah.
And you know, it's cool because he's building he's building out a lot of technology as well. And he's bringing on the right, you know, types of people, and listening to his like hiring strategies. I'm like, this guy's actually, you know, he's doing some really cool stuff, and he's trying to build something amazing. And you know, there's companies out there doing amazing stuff, and you know, when I look at the landscape, so to speak, I'm like, all right, well, where do we fit in? Because we have something very unique, and when we look at the landscape, it's our duty to be playing on that field and playing on that level, because I'm gonna say it here, like, our results are better than anyone.
That's what I was about to say.
The results are more life changing than anyone,
100%.
right? It's not just about the physical.
No.
You know, when you unlock the physical transformation to be the vehicle to do things you never thought were possible, like, the world will be a better place. Imagine if we had like millions and millions of people who are able to see what we do. And that doesn't mean necessarily they're just in the platform, but they could be just exposed to the RMT brand. That's where the power is, right? It's thinking too small, and it's also a cop out if you say, oh no, I just want to keep it super small. Because it's like, well, I thought you had a really good message. Why are you trying not get? Why don't you want this to go to everyone out there, or as many people who it is suited for?
Well, because it's easy to keep it small.
Exactly. And it's hard to step change businesses, 100%. Right? It's super easy to stay small, have a few people with you, and just sort of enjoy the ride, and that's cool if that's what you want to do. But you know, I can speak for myself, but probably yourself as well. That you're here not here to like just have a small impact. Right? No. I don't meet many people who are as passionate about wanting people to live a healthy life, which is why, you know, I ask you like, oh, how you feeling? It's like, oh, I've been, you know, all week I was down about this one thing, so I created a video.
Yeah.
to help. I created a video for our members because I just need to get off my chest. I'm like, who else thinks like that?
Yeah.
You know, who else thinks like, let's you know, the mood dictated by the level of impact they're having. That's service, right? And that's also someone who's speaking from a place of truth, but also wants to have a big impact. Thanks, and that's what we're trying to create here, right? Is bringing people on board who believe this is a duty to get out there.
I think
because there's so much shit out there.
Exactly, but we've also experienced it ourselves, and like I've always said this, like I want everyone to experience that same feeling that I had. You know what I mean? When I went through my own journey, and you know, came out the other end in a really good place, and continuing to build my life since then. You know, like everyone, but it all started from a really big physical change. You know what I mean? And you know, obviously there was many other factors going into that, but my whole mission has always been that, to share that with people, because nothing can give you that sort of same level of satisfaction, in my opinion. You know? And not just because of the before and after picture. Like I always want to make that super clear. It's what you have to do to get to that before and after picture that creates the character, you know. And then you take that character and apply it to other areas of your life, and that is what propels you forward. I think many people misconstrue that message. But that's why I get really upset, you know, if I feel like I'm not making as much of an impact as I possibly can. And, you know, my whole life has always been so much potential and not making that impact that I could have, you know. And I think that's probably also what's a bit of a driver. It's like I have all this knowledge, I create all this content, like I geek out so much. I geek out on so much on how to help other people. I didn't realize that until now. And then not seeing that come to fruition the way I want to at times upsets me. You know, and then
but that's what makes you as well, and that's what makes all of us on the team, because you know I always say I want to create the best platform to transform, and that what goes with that is all we look at is, we don't look at, let's say 80% of people are doing amazing, all we care about is the 20, but the 80 people, that's great, they're doing well. But why are these people not doing it?
100%.
And it's just that constant. But I think that's important, because a lot of people will be like, and this is like, for example, gyms. Oh, these people aren't turning up to the gym. Great.
cares?
Like, just forget about them, right?
Exactly.
And it's about taking that approach of, no, everyone needs to do this because what's possible?
Yeah.
Actually, they did do it. What's going to change? What are they going to do differently in their family?
Yeah.
What are they going to do differently in their career?
Exactly.
Are they going to feel better in their heads, right? Because
Yeah.
you remember probably a very visceral experience of when you were like, oh, like something's different, right? You probably remember that, right? You can probably feel it.
It's just more
It's a
like
visceral-
showing what you can do when you put your mind to something, and what you can go through, what you can endure, what you can put yourself through.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you said it before as well. Like the physical activity side of things, like putting yourself through hard stuff, just makes you more resilient. You know, and that's why I think that's why we get off on that too. You know, so but again, that's not all about the physical transformation. There's so much more that goes into that, and yeah, I get really passionate about it, you know, because I do want people to experience that, because it's game changing. Like, imagine if everyone went through that, the impact they can have on the world around them, right?
What was your like thing? Like what was your moment when you were like, oh wow, like this isn't just about my body.
Yeah.
This isn't just about my six pack I've now got or my shredded glutes. Like, what was your thing?
Yeah.
And what was your moment, and then what did you do with it first?
I think it was just like, well, again, no one except you guys, no one knew what I was really doing.
Yeah.
I was doing that for me, right? And I just found out, even because that was my initial goal. Remember, I said, hey, I want to get there, and I just want to stay there for like an experiment.
Yeah.
You know, so I already took it from like an experimental point of view. So I sort of knew what I was getting myself into. I wasn't just getting there to get out.
Yeah.
I knew that, okay, I'm going to get there. I wanted to do it in a way that I could see myself doing over the long term. And luckily for me, I took a liking to a lot of activity. I loved cycling. I loved just being active, being an active person, you know. So I think that instilled like a lot of those behaviors. But I never looked at those things as chores, right? Like, I've spoken about this before. I always looked at it as a privilege. Like, I have the capacity to go ride. I have the capacity to go train at my gym and go for walks. You know, I used to walk past, there's trauma ward across the road for me, you know. I speak about this all the time. I walk past that and everyone's in wheelchairs, right? Like, because they've had horrific accidents. And I'm like, fuck, like, how can you see this and not want to walk and not be grateful for the fact that you can actually move your legs? You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's being around that, and then even once I got to my checkpoint, so to speak, I was just like, well, I don't want to change my lifestyle because I really, really like this lifestyle. I agree, looking back, I probably took it to the extreme. I went to extreme, like I was doing crazy things with my sleep, unintentionally. Like, you know, I was working through it. I wasn't like getting up super early on purpose. It was just my body doing what a very lean body does. But through all that, even if it wasn't like optimal physically at the time, like, I felt fantastic from just productivity standpoint. I think that was also when I came onto R&T as well. So I was just like, if I can do this, I can do this. You know what I mean? If I can put myself through all this, I can learn to online coach. I can get I can, be financially better. I can do this better. I can do this better. It was that confidence, that transformation gave me in other areas of my life. And again, it showed me who I really am and who I want to be moving forward, which I think nothing can give you that. You have to work for that. You have to discover that yourself. You know what I mean? And we'll have a discussion the other day about, next steps with regards to like for fulfillment with life. And one of the big sort of advantages I have now is knowing who I am and knowing what I want and knowing where I want to be going in my life. And I don't think many people have that.
You can only do that through physical transformation and then sustaining physical transformation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because you have to order your life all the time, especially sustaining it, because anyone can put their life on hold for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
Can you change your life for the rest of your life?
Exactly.
And that's where it all happens.
Yeah, and then I took that approach and applied it to all the other training goals that I had, and just kept moving forward, and changed directions a little bit as I went. But I'm still again trying to maintain a very healthy lifestyle, use my body for good, look after it more, make sure I eat enough and all that good stuff, make sure I get enough sleep. So
it's crazy. Like I remember mine happened when I was 17. I started training and got rid of the skinny fat moves on a pot belly. And I just remember thinking, oh wow, I've got focus in my life. I've got a sense of control, and I've got confidence for the first time ever. You know, I was always I was very shy, insecure, scared to talk to girls. But this gave me like a confidence, not in a bad way, but like a quiet confidence. I'm not really that kind of like kind of person, but a quiet confidence to do things like that I never would have done before. And then I just continued and continued and continued. And yeah, you were saying, I was telling you the story of like, I often still think of like, why did I not do law? Like what kid at 17 years old, I went to a school which was all about the common high-end degrees. What was I even thinking? Like, so like that's why I know like there's bigger conspiracies here of like the reason for doing this. Like I genuinely believe this is what I'm here to do. Is help people unlock that physical transformation of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And there's too many like moments I've had in my life that I'm like, oh yeah, that reconfirms it. And you just
because
need,
nothing
you
is
having
as
that.
because nothing is as impactful. I don't think.
No.
You know what I mean? You can read, like, you can watch a motivational clip. You can listen to one of our podcasts, and you'll be like, yeah. But it just does not have the same impact as actually putting yourself through that entire process, because we've spoken about this before, but it requires you to fully commit yourself.
Yeah.
You can't fall on crutches. You know what I mean? You can't rely on food to get you through a problem. You're hungry, deal with it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or like, you know, there's no hiding, right? What's the right? What you eat in private, you wear in public, right? You know what I mean? There's nothing. Again, it's a bit facetious, but it's more the message behind that, where you cannot hide. You have to do everything that's required to get into that sort of condition, and you have to eliminate a lot of shit from your life. You have to be firm. You have to make decisions. You have to be prepared. You have to organize your life and organize your schedule to get it done. And those skills carry over to everywhere.
Yeah.
Like when we think about it, right? How we structure our work days now, how we structure our meal times, or whatever it is, we structure it in a way we don't think about it too much now, but I think it's because we've done that for so long, throughout that process, when we've gone through that, that's made it so second nature now. And that is a very, very transferable skill to everything you do.
And every time you do it as well, there's an element of sustaining it is important, and then it's also about remembering what it feels like to do the hard bit, the extreme stuff. Like I was just thinking, like a couple of weeks, you know, when I was in that final stretch before my recent photo shoot, and I remember some vivid experiences where, you know, the last 10 days where you don't even know where you are, right? But you have this, well, I get this, and I know you do as well. It's like, how much can I take? Like, how much pain can I tolerate here? Because it's resilience building, and that's why, you know, if things go wrong in business, I know I'm cool because I'm like, well, I've already self-inflicted a bunch of stuff on myself.
Yeah, you know,
someone else put stuff on me. Yeah, cool, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that, right?
Yeah. But I think that's probably the biggest thing that you take away from it that you don't realize is that your ability to handle stress just goes through the roof.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you can put yourself through that voluntarily, like, imagine what you can do when shit hits the fan in other areas of life. When you're well fed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can handle pretty much anything. You know, and that's another reason why I love, you know, I still do like a lot of cardio now, and it's a lot more programmed, a lot more structured, and it shows you, can you endure when your legs just want to go, no, I'm done. Can you push through that, right? And you know, you hear about a lot of endurance athletes, they do a lot of crazy things, right? You wouldn't even think it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is just in the head, right? It's a lot of it is that mindset to be like, well, how much further can I keep going? You know?
Yeah, David Goggins calls it what? Taking souls? I think he says it?
Yeah. Animal. You know what I mean? So that sort of mentality, that's one of the reasons why I enjoy still love doing a lot of cardio like that, because it's a different type of challenge. It you know, is so long and it's strenuous, and it's not just short and sharp and done. You know what I mean? And when you get good at the short and sharp stuff, you're like, okay, yeah, you forget how hard the longer stuff can be. You know, so I like to have a bit of a mix of those, but it just keeps you resilient from a mental perspective too. You know. But again, there's a double-edged sword. You got to make sure you don't cook yourself into a smithereens.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, how do you ride the knife's edge of high performance? Yeah, because high performance is quite a like. To actually sit in the sweet spot of it is really. It's. I think for people like us, it's easy, but it's easy to then ride it to the other to
Or
the
you
wrong
don't
side.
know how close you are on the edge
Like-
until you fall.
I say to a friend of mine when we got to Bali, I was like, oh, this decision fatigue is just too much. Like I'm going to, there's too many restaurants, there's too many options on the menu, and he goes to me, dude, I think like, yeah, this is the time to like not be you don't have to be extreme high performance here. Like it's okay to make a few decisions and be normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's a good point actually.
Yeah.
I can look at a few menus because
Yeah, yeah.
normally you're just training yourself to be
Yeah.
right, limit decision fatigue,
Yeah.
have my non-negotiables, get super structure where it's actually probably beneficial to just
Detach from that.
just chill out
And
for a bit.
I've purposely done that this trip as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it's more. But
Yeah, and interestingly enough,
Yeah.
just sorry to interrupt, I was
Yeah.
like, I wonder how Ivan's going to be.
Yeah.
Because I know how militant he is, and I was saying to
Yeah.
Chani, I was like, look, he's like, this is already a big ask, like him coming here, like let's not plan too much, because I don't know if he's going to be doing this, he's going to be doing that. I was like, look, we'll have a structure, but we'll play it by ear. And when you said to me, look, you guys do whatever we want, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, but I think being that militant for so
Yeah.
long or whatnot, it makes you realize that you can have a week away, rely on your intuition a bit, because that's again, intuition comes with education and
Yeah.
implementation for long periods of time.
Yeah.
If I couldn't go on a trip now and worry about every single macro and
Yeah.
calorie, I've done something incorrect or I've got a disorder. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like being able to come to a trip, enjoy the food that you guys have, that, you know, explore new foods. Yeah, still aim to keep my protein relatively high. Everything else is just, I just eat until I'm satisfied, and as simple as that. You know what I mean? But as we're discussing today, our appetite's not the best thing to work on
Yeah.
while we're here because we're having so much fun. But again, I don't have to stress so hard about it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to be home in a couple of days, get back to my normal routine. Like, what's the worst going to happen? Nothing, you know. If anything, I'll feel better when I get home, right?
Yeah. I mean, you already had a better strength day today.
Exactly.
You
Training
probably
the
weren't
heat.
the most optimal.
No, being able to train the heat, you know, had a good sleep, relaxed a lot. It was great, you know, managed to enjoy a session, shoulders felt really good, and yeah, it was brilliant, you know what I mean? But yeah, not having to stress about, oh, did I do enough volume today, or did I do enough back bending? You know what I mean? Or did I get my protein in straight away? Or, oh no, what about this, what about that? It's just like, you don't need to have that at this stage of the journey, which I think a lot of people need to understand. Yeah, maybe you will have to be a bit more militant when you're first learning, because you know how we were sitting at that beautiful bar. Where was that place that we were sitting at yesterday?
Bali, Lisa? Or?
Oh, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable views, right? Seeing the beach, you know,
Yeah.
having our Diet Cokes, you know what I mean? Like, we're party animals, but, you know, that's, we're saying to ourselves, how hard would it be for so many people to actually do well in this sort of environment? Like, it's so enticing, there's good crowd, good people, but if you don't know, it's really hard.
Yeah. And if it was easy, we wouldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a job.
No.
And that's the thing. It's like we were saying over dinner. We're like, how do we're talking about gamification, dopamine, because we're competing against Uber, Netflix, McDonald's, all these.
What's Netflix's mantra again?
Yeah, I mean the Netflix CEO, he says his biggest competition is sleep. And if you look at the way Netflix is created, it's all about that, right? It's all about the auto thing, the auto continuation. How many times have you let that go, right?
Yeah.
And you know, when you can't be asked to move and you're slouched on the sofa, you just keep doing that, right? You do that 3-4 hours are gone because you're soaked up into the experience.
Yeah.
Food is so easily available, Uber's everywhere. Like the world is designed for convenience and speed, which is great for some aspects if you know how to control it. If you don't know how to control it,
It detracts from so many other areas of your life.
it pulls away from your health,
Yeah.
physical and mental.
Yeah. Agreed.
If you think about all the big companies, Facebook, Instagram, we've talked about this before, where their most well-paid people are obsessed with how do we hook these people on it, right? And to be honest,
they're
if you
actual
think about
drug dealers.
yeah, and if you think about what we have conversations around, it's the same thing, but we're fighting dopamine, which prefers sugar, prefers Netflix,
instant gratification.
then
Yeah.
prefers going for a 10k walk.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like trying to create a dopamine hit around
Yeah.
that is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna.
Yeah,
Your dopamine
exactly.
hit will only come when you do it.
Exactly.
When
Exactly.
you're faced with the choice of
Yeah.
should I take an Uber or should
It's
I
like,
go for a walk?
you have to earn that dopamine hit versus being given that dopamine hit, and that's another huge. I think that's why a lot of people's again, I swear again, it's why a lot of people are just fucked up You know what I mean? Because all the dopamine hits they get are from. I don't think there's anything wrong with dopamine. We've said this before. Dopamine is fantastic, but when you cultivate it yourself, that's when it's great. Like the dopamine rush you get from helping people or creating something you like, creating amazing bit of content, or doing some exercise, or just those sort of things that you have to work for to then get the dopamine hit. And that's what we used to have to do back in the day, right? When we had to find food, it was a laborious thing, right? We had to go out and hunt, we had to really go forage for that food. And then that's why there's this huge reward feeling associated with it, because at the time we had to expend a lot of energy to get a lot of energy. Now it's just push a button, people come to your door with food, with 10,000 calories. It's insane.
And then you get the offers, right? Uber Eats, 50% off. Oh yeah, I just have takeaway. I can't be asked to cook, right?
Yeah. And what did you see in the US, where someone could literally you could consume 4,000 calories for what, $5 or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's bonkers. I mean, and it's so. When we were in Nashville at a pizza place, and the crazy thing is, I fell for this, right? And I was like, how did I fall for this? Because I was reading the menus online. I was like, this place is good. It looks like they got low calorie pizzas. And everything next to the pizza said 250 calories. I'm like,
a slice.
Pretty good. Yeah. Got there, ordered it, and I was thinking, it's gonna be a clean meal. He gave me a 8 slice pizza. Then I was like, it's 250 per.
Yeah.
I got 1,600 calories in front of me. And and if I could fall for that, imagine what everyone else is falling for.
100%.
And I think where where the light bulbs are going off is where we've got to crack is how do we gamify and make this so addictive? How do we make exercise so addictive but give instant rewards on it? I've seen some. I don't know how much you've looked into blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, and it's all a bit of a wild west, right? But there was one interesting company I saw the other day where they incentivize people to walk, and when you walk a certain amount, they're giving you coins, but financial. They're giving you financials.
You're being rewarded for it, yeah.
And the financial rewards, everyone loves that instant hit of you walk and you're getting money. I thought that's really interesting. I was like, they're onto something there.
They are onto something, but I think those are all.
But how does it sustain?
Exactly. What happens when you remove that?
But imagine if you, whilst that was happening, the instant hit, you were getting taught the long term stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it gets you. Because
that's not sustainable. But
no.
If you had 2 layers where you had a quick fix thing going on here, and you had a sustainable thing going on here.
Yeah, then you start with a quick fix, you get rewarded for it because you hate it initially, but then you start seeing the benefits from it. You're like, actually, when I walk more, I just feel better. My digestion's better. I have a better head. Actually, I don't think I need that financial reward to keep walking.
And then you got to somehow gamify that bit. You got to gamify the sustainability element.
Yeah.
Until it becomes just second nature.
But no, I think you're right. I think there's definitely something there, and the podcast we had with Lyle McDonald, he mentioned the same thing. Technology is the future, right? Being able to gamify this stuff in a way that is not overwhelming, not feeling like you're failing, but always feeling like you're moving in the right direction, right? But also being realistic. You know what I mean? It's not all about being, you didn't hit your steps today. That's okay. Do it tomorrow.
Because that's what a lot of it is right now, isn't it?
100%. And that's all well and good, but this is teaching, giving people participation medals, right? And that's all well and good to be inclusive, this and that. But if you really want to make a lifelong transformation, you need to make some serious changes in your life. That's we are never going to be able to get yourself out of that thing. You need to do the things to get that remarkable transformation. And yes, if we can gamify those things to a degree, that would be great. But
and that's why it's so hard, because what we do is done with you, and an element of do it yourself. Whereas Botox and things like that, it's done for you. It just does it. Exactly. And then the next day,
you can buy that happiness.
When I was on the plane, I was looking at a magazine, and there was a magazine. There was a whole page advert of Botox of get a 6-pack tomorrow.
Yeah,
I was like, no, they contort your body and they take away the fat, and then it basically makes you look like you've got a 6-pack. And then the reviews are like, oh my god, I woke up with a 6-pack.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, oh man, this is what we're trying to get. We're also against this.
But you're also missing the bigger picture of that. You're missing the work ethic that it took to get there. You're not a better person for it. You're just an idiot now with artificial 6-pack that makes you even dumber. Sorry, but if we can find ways to one that I would love to crack would be gamifying nutritional adherence to some degree. You know what I mean? Like if we could crack that, because that's the big one.
Yeah,
I
because
think
all the artificial intelligence at the moment in a lot of these like probably low end products, what they do a good job in helping you make changes or seeing if you're sticking to it, but there's no
accountability.
Yeah, there's no like repercussions.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, the robot told me
Yeah.
I'm off track. Cool. What do we do next?
Yeah.
There's got to be a way of like leveraging AI, some sort of weird dopamine science, some sort of gamification, and whatever other technology is available to somehow crack it. It's got to be cracked, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is most fitness tech and most wearable tech is only about tracking what you've done in the past, and also more just giving you status reports.
Yep.
Or there's no, what there isn't is that sort your shit out. And obviously
Yeah.
that requires humans, right? There is an element of humans because you need to feel that emotional, I've let this person down element. So there has to be.
But more importantly, you've let yourself down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I,
yeah.
it's not-
Sorry, yeah, that's
it's
better
not, it's not about like,
Yeah.
Again, we're never going to be, you're a bad person for not following your plan. It's like, no, you're not a bad person. You know, anything, you know, when people, you know, when they talk about themselves like they're good or bad, when they
Yeah.
talk about food, it's like, no, this is not a moral thing. Like, your food shouldn't be put on that sort of pedestal, right? You're not a bad person if you don't stick to your nutrition plan. It's just like, what can we do to make this process easier for you?
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
can actually stick to that plan, right?
Then the question is like, the question then is like scaling that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do we? Because that is genuinely probably the solution. But it's like, how do we make that attractive for millions of people? It's the real hard bit to crack, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to crack, obviously.
Work in progress.
One day, work in progress. What's the most exciting thing what's the most exciting thing for you going on right now with RNT?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, we can probably talk about it, the internal coaching system.
Yeah.
So obviously creating the coaching system for any future coaches that are going to come on board to be able to coach people the R&T way and take the entire person into consideration. You know, we speak about a lot of niche topics in there, especially as it's catered towards online coaching as well. I mean, it's a huge difference between online coaching and in-person coaching. There are definitely similarities, but there are massive differences that I think many coaches who, if they do start online coaching, they need to know. And we focus on like a lot of key components, you know, such as like, you know, how to make proper changes, how not to make changes, touching on like adherence and best ways to really promote adherence, you know. And probably the most important one is journey mapping. Being able to show the journey to the person that you're working with, because we all know people need that direction. Okay, they need to know what's happening, even after their checkpoint, especially after their checkpoint. They need to know once they've got in shape, what's the plan, you know. And so there's a lot of that sort of stuff. But so working on that, again, just continuing to make more content for our members, continuing to coach people through our new dashboard and seeing how we can optimize that, you know, and just getting the communities going. Like, it's really great, you know, seeing people getting results and that, like, working together to get the results, you know. And I think that's been a huge added bonus, right? You know, like-minded individuals being able to communicate with each other and seeing others do what they want to do, I think is super powerful, because I think a lot of people can sometimes fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I can't do this. But then they see someone in the exact same situation as them, or worse, achieving.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I can fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's definitely very exciting for me as well. And I just want to continue sort of finessing that, it's a good word, and seeing how that sort of comes about in the next couple of months and couple of years.
Love it. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you in the last 3 years, and
Same to you,
I'm excited for the next 3 years.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
Incredible.